Well, welcome to December Power Hour. I'm Tessa and I live outside Indiana, joined by Megan outside of Seattle, Washington. And we are going to demonstrate 2 layouts for you tonight. Hopefully you got the email with handouts and printed them so you can follow along with those tonight. So tonight my layout is more of a border base. So I will flip down to my table. I'll let Megan do that. So I decided when I saw, have you guys ordered the new silver and gold collection from Creative Memories yet? I don't do a lot of New Year's type of layout, but I have graduates. And so I thought that silver and gold might be what works best for me for graduation stuff. And so I pulled it out and I was like, you know what, at least it's kind of the theme, current collection. And I wanted to use it for my layout tonight. And I'm using mostly out of the accent pack. So as you saw in the demo layout, I had some graduation photos. These are from Jonah in 2020. And so I did do a little mini 8x8 book for him. And somewhere I have this posted and I need to remember where, but as you can see, I did black pages and I had a collection of gold-based foiled things similar to this paper packet that I did this book for him, but I had never done layouts for my book yet. And so when I was debating about my layout for tonight, I really wanted to maintain this kind of theme because in my mind, this is how his graduation kind of looks with the black pages. So I wanted to use black cardstock and then use some of the silver and gold paper. And so when I pulled things out to use, I'm going to tell you, it took me hours to figure this out. I went about 12 different ways. I thought I had in my head what kind of design I wanted to do. It wasn't working. It was getting late. And finally, I came back around and this is what I ended up with. Because when I did these pictures, do many of you scrapbook on black? You ever used to use plain black cardstock or black pages? I really like the look for some things, but I like to maintain kind of the cleanness of it and the simpleness of it. And what I kept doing was making it too busier than I wanted to. I really wanted the focus to be on the formality of the photos a little bit. And so we're going to make the border tonight. And then a couple of the other decorative items I decided to do. We're using one of the decorative blades for the mats. And so if you have those, this is a decal, added just a little bit of design to it. And I really wanted a lot of the black to show through between the photos. And then I pulled over some of the elements over here. So I had made 2 borders originally, but it just didn't work over here. Sometimes you have a border, but you don't really have the space for your border. I have a lot of photos. I don't want to have a lot of layouts. And so I realized I have to own, a lot of you I know are symmetrical scrapbookers. You really like both pages to look the same, kind of mirror images. Some of you, yes, no. I realize I really am not, and I actually prefer it not to look that way. I like for the layout in general just to be the whole layout, and it doesn't matter to me whether they match or not. And so when I did this side of it, the border didn't work, and so I decided just to pull over some of the elements with the paper. If any of you have the old Creative Memories metallic Great Length stickers, that's what these are, but tonight I'm going to use paper. The inspiration actually for the border came out of one of the mats in the mat pack. If you haven't ordered the mats yet, they came in a Ziploc bag, which was really nice. This is a new feature. Hopefully it continues so you can pull them out and look through them. So I thought I was going to use this mat that has the circles on there, and there's no paper. Sometimes they give us designs in the mat pack, but there's no paper that matches it. And so I thought I could create my own border to coordinate with the mat, and in the end, I didn't even use the mat. But it still allowed me to pull in some of the papers. It doesn't photograph very well, the metallic, but there's spoiling in this paper right here. And then this is platinum shimmer. And then this is tone on tone. The base is a tone on tone out of that pack, and then just black cardstock. And so in person, it really has a lot of, what's the word? The foiling, shininess to it from all of the embossing. So that's kind of where this layout came from. I have a few pages more to do for graduation, so I decided to stick with the same theme for tonight, but I thought I would change up the punches a little bit. So I have my paper. The other reason why I didn't want to use a lot of paper in the layouts is I want to stretch this out. I don't really want to buy multiple packs of this paper because I don't have uses yet so much for the other pages in it. And so the border allows me to stretch it out. and then it's kind of cardstock heavy. So I thought tonight I would use the embossed hexagon to see how it looks. I also thought it would be fun. I might pop one or two out tonight. Some of the pages, this was COVID graduation, and so it's a backyard graduation, not at the school. I do have a few pictures from the day we went to the school. They did a walkthrough, and they are tigers. And so I pulled out my paw prints punch because I thought as a school mascot, it might be fun to throw on a couple of foiled paw prints on for that layout. So it really is a border you can do for anything, any design. I use the circle, the new circle punch from Creative Memories. It punches very smoothly. It is easier than the makers that we had in the old company. It is a little bit bigger also. You can also replicate this if you don't have this punch with the custom cutting system. I did not think I would really like having this punch. I didn't know that I would use it, but it really is so much easier to punch than cutting out all of those circles. So you can put it on your wish list if you want to grab that at some point. I think we'll have it for a little while. So I'm going to start by making the borders. And I'm going to use a 2-inch base, but I think because I'm going to make 2 borders, I'm going to try to double it, and I'm going to do a 4-inch piece of paper and then just cut it in half into 2 borders when I'm done. And I actually will have, I can make 2 more sets of borders for all of my pages. And that will efficiently give me 6 borders out of this one sheet. On the handout, I suggested punching 8 of the circles, but punch however many shapes, depend on the size of your border. The hexagon is a little bit smaller, so I might end up punching more than 8. I suggested 3 colors. You could do 2. I would suggest at least 2 so you have some overlap in your colors. If you're making the double border like me, you really are going to need more than 8. You need more like 16. The embossed hexagon, I found if you really want the embossing, you really have to apply some pressure when you're punching. I think I don't notice it even that much, whether it's embossed or not. So I'm not really putting in that much effort to get the embossing to show up. And I pulled out my black scraps to get for my black. Our school colors are red. And I thought I would end up working some crimson into the borders, but I think there was so much red in the graduation gowns that I didn't need to do that. It is true on the circle punch, it is a size you can't get, but with this border, you could do any size of shape really. It's 1 3/4, but you could do a little bit smaller, a little bit bigger. I'm going to pull out this. So this is the second border I made out of the circles. You can see when I made this one by itself. You just kind of, some circles are by themselves, some of them overlap a little bit. There is really doesn't have to be any rhyme or reason to how you put your shapes on there. I would just suggest kind of giving a mental idea before you start adhering them. This kind of border too, because you can use like side pieces of, this is kind of a small piece, but you know, sometimes you have scraps and you can't really quite get the entire punch out of there, but you could get part of a punch, and you only need part of a punch to go down the edge. Like this one, you know, I didn't get a full, but I can put that along the edge and straight trim it off, use up that extra in there. The hexagon does like to try to eat your shapes. If you have graduates, I mean, this is 2020, like I said, but Emerson graduated in 22. So I actually have her graduation due also. Then I use repositional tape to put my pieces down. You will want to overlap them a little bit on the edges. I'm going to cut this border in half. So I'm going to end up with two 2-inch borders again. By putting my pieces on before I do the 2-inch strips, it means I don't have to, when I straight cut this in half, I'm going to end up with the little pieces on either side instead of having to glue them on separately. These pieces can get pretty tiny. I used my reversible tweezer, which I think I actually left in the other room. To get in place. And because they are smaller, like I said, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I have at least 10. I'm going to want to fill in a little bit space up there, but I think we're going to go ahead and cut it in half and then fill in my extras. I don't, when I look at this, I did have a couple. I didn't do, I have a little bit of overlap. So you can see, like, I have this piece over here. This one's really too small. I didn't do a great job covering the center of that one, but I got some of the effect of it over here with these. I can fix all that. And then I'm going to straight cut this side. So down the edge. It probably would have been better if I'd stick with the circles. So these little pieces that I cut off, when I did the circles, these are the ones that I will take and adhere to the other side. And you'll need something if you don't, reversible tweezers or nails to pick up these little pieces. So then with the little ones I cut off, and add a little bit more tape, and then I can find places that are kind of bare and glue them down. I didn't think I needed silver and gold either. I don't think it's going to sell out quickly. I think it will last until, you know, the first couple months of the year at least. So it wasn't in your December budget. I'm pretty sure it'll be there for January. So let's trade this one out for the bigger. It is universal and timeless. I'm just not a New Year's person. So I feel like other than graduations, I don't know, Megan, do you have New Year's Eve plans? Are you guys going to do anything? I tend to sit at home on the couch, and that's not the kind of layouts you do with.
Normally we go and celebrate with some friends, but I'm not sure that they're actually going to be in town this year. I need to follow up with them. We're going to be flying back in, or not flying, but driving back into town. So we'll see whether we make it back in time for a New Year's Eve celebration.
You gonna let Cody stay up till midnight? Or are you gonna do?
Oh no, he stays up. That kid, he's my night owl. He's lucky that he can. His school doesn't start until 9:15 in the morning, so he gets to sleep in. I think he got out of bed at 8:30 this morning.
That helps.
The one thing I like about this collection is I think there's good tonals in there to go grab. That if you want a little bit of sparkle with other things. Yeah. It's easy to just grab and, add in a little bit of gold here, add in a little bit of silver there. So, when you find yourself reaching for that platinum shimmer, maybe you want something with a little bit of a different pattern to it, but you still want that silver. That's a great way to do it there. I saw a question asking about whether rose gold is going to, or the rose shimmer will be going into the December. As far as our past December, as far as I know, all of the December deals, if they are there, that anything that's marked down, my understanding is after December 21st, it will go back to regular prices. But I believe Rose Shimmer is regular prices. So I believe it's going to be there afterwards. If it doesn't sell out before then. Will it sell out before then? I have no idea. Is that your understanding, Tessa? Is it still going to be available?
I actually asked that question today to clarify. If the coupon will disappear, I think the bundled pricing will disappear. The things that were individually marked down, I asked for clarification on.
Did you hear back?
She has not answered me yet.
Okay.
Which is really just the punches. Rose Shimmer is regular price.
Yes.
So that would be there. Okay, I think I'm happy with that. You see, if you were watching, I just did a piece for the bottom and the top. I just overlapped it and gave it a little cut off. And I think I'm happy with how those look. With the little space here, if I want, I can always go back and find little, do you guys remember those old metallic star stickers we had? I could stick them there, or those, it's not so applicable. I think we even had music notes that were gold and silver way back then. So I'm going to stop with that for now. And I'm going to cut, this is the print I have beside my border. I'm going to cut 2 1-inch strips. This is the piece next to the border. Adds a little bit of pattern and contrast. I liked it with the circles because they were very different. It's not as different than the hexagon, but it allowed me to get that print onto the page without being overwhelming. The reversible tweezers are not. They were out of one of the secret boxes, the Feeling Bright. I still have them in stock. I know that there were other advisors that pulled them out of the boxes too. I know I want to leave room for a lot of photos. And so I'm going to push my borders pretty far to the edge. So I'm going to adhere my 1-inch strip about a 1/4 inch off the edge. Just enough so I see the black lined up on my mat. The tweezer should have been a core line item. It's one of those things that you don't realize that you want them until you see other people use them. I'm going to put tape on here. So on the handout, I suggested you can overlap this to make sure you have enough room left based on your photos. And so when you grab your photos, like the photos I have here are going to be vertical, and then I'm going to mat them. And I want to make sure that even after I mat them, I have space to see the black, and then I still have room between that and my border. And so I can pull this border over. I can overlap my 1-inch strip if I need to give myself room for the mat. If you're just doing maybe a horizontal photo or you have smaller photos, you might have room. You can make your border a little bit bigger if you want, if you need to cover more. The circles from this punch are 1 3/4. The hexagon is probably, I think it's probably about 1 1/4 tip to tip. I'm going to cut, I just need to trim these photos, the tops of them, and then I'm going to cut mats for them. Show you with my deco blade. So these are 4x6. To save room, I could probably cut off about 1/2 inch off, actually. Have any of you, did any of you guys use the blades to maybe do your mat? We've done it a couple of times in class, kind of like with the variety mats, but it's not something I do very often. I chose decal because it's subtle. Kind of gives it that torn paper edge. And I'm doing 4 1/4 wide. That should be about 5 1/2. About 5 3/4 or so. I did cut off 1/2 inch. I won't go through all my mats, but you can see how that gives it a nice torn edge. It was not a coincidence I wore black that day. I knew it would coordinate very well. I did not want to clash with anything I scrapbooked. Is that so bad? Some people just wear any kind of sundress or whatever to graduation. Nope. When it's my kids, I wore black to both of them because I did not want to be a distraction in the photos. So if I'm putting them both up here, you can see how when I finish out my border, I do want to make sure I'm overlapping a little bit. I go about 3 inches total. It's at the 9 up here. And that'll give me room over here. But I'm running out of metallic stickers. So what I want to do, if you want to give yourself a little bit of an edge, we can just cut a thin strip of paper. Thank you, Kelly. If dressing for the scrapbook page is wrong, I don't want to be right. That's me. I've dressed more than once knowing. Thin strip here. I need to give myself a straight edge first. That was a punched edge. And I'm just going to the second dotted line on the cutting mat, so it's real thin. I'm going to do 3 of them. This paper has foiling. I don't know that you can tell so much online. It's a really pretty print out of the accent. And I'm going to run repo tape down. I'm generously going to apply repo tape. And then apply it along the seam. And it finishes off my border edge. These are also the same widths that come out of the border maker. So if you're punching something for another layout, you could save these tiny strips. It's kind of hard to really store them over time without them getting too bent up. It really does add kind of that finishing look to the border. So I was really pleased. I'm really pleased with that. It adds a little bit of formality. It gave me the metallic, it gave me the color. I could see some of the print, but in the end, the focus really is on the photos, which is what I wanted for these layouts. And I can still see a fair amount of the black popping through with that. So, and then one final touch, we'll go back to my demo layouts. You know, I'm going to work on these while Megan does hers. I don't know per se that my border will work on the other side. If it doesn't, I can still work. I could pull over, punch the hexagons. Like here, I punched the circles. I could add, you know, just part of the border at the bottom. So as I work through that second page, depending on how the photos work, we'll see if it works. And then if it doesn't work to add the border, then I will just save the border for another layout. I have more graduations to do or an anniversary or something of the sort. So I do look forward to seeing what kind of borders you make. Obviously could use a lot of different shapes. So curious to see what you do. I don't think there are any other questions. Megan?
Yeah, I don't see any other. Somebody did ask what were the sizes of those thin strips?
I just measure, it's like dot to dot on the cutting board. So what do you
So about just about 1/8 of an inch.
About 1/8 of an inch. Basically as thin as you can cut it and still work with it. Get tape on it. All right, your turn.
All right, let me see here. All right, so hello. Yes, I'm Megan Jax out here in Seattle, just north of Seattle, Washington. And so thanks for joining us tonight. So I have a single page layout to share with you guys. Hopefully you've got your handouts printed, that you've got your custom cutting system, the circle. We're going to be using the circle number 1, so the smallest of the circles. If you do not have circle number 1, if you could also use, you could use circle number 3 on the inside track. We're just looking for circles that are about 3¼ to 4, just over 4 inches. I think ultimately when we use the blue blade on this, we're making a circle that's just not quite 4½ inches wide. So somewhere in there, you'd use the red blade on the, if you use circle number 3, the red blade on the inside track. We're going to use the blue blade with the circle number 1 on the outside track. But you could, of course, make this a little bit smaller. If you wanted to use the red blade or the green blade, you could. The thing to note, the smaller your circles, the smaller these shapes will be. They won't take up as much space. So if you think this is a little bit aggressive, you want to see more of your 4-inch photo, use a slightly smaller circle. If you want to be, I wouldn't go any bigger than using the circle number 1 with the blue blade. That would be the biggest I would do. So if you think this is a little bit too big, you could scale it back a little bit, use either the red or the green with circle number 1, or use red blade with circle number 3. So for my layout tonight, I've got some photos of my 16-year-old when they were, 2, I think. Maybe not even 2, maybe just over about 1½, not even 1½. I don't know. They were little and they were enjoying the swing set at the park, and they have a terribly dirty face. And these photos are pretty much almost out of focus, but you love them anyway, right? So I have these 3 photos. They went into squares, which is what I was looking for. And I'm just using 3 out of 4 photos. And what I will do is I will take the space, one of my squares, and add a little bit more decoration to it. When I put my title there, I put some additional journaling. So I am focused on doing 3 squares with photo. 1 square will be left over for a little bit more decor. If you have a square mat that you want to put in there with a title, like I said, a journal box. If you've only got the 3 squares, you can definitely do that. All right. So the paper I'm using is from, you guys might recognize it, from Sugar Plum. This was I believe it was 2017's Christmas collection when they did pinks, purples, and blues for something a little bit different. Maybe it was trendy that year for the Christmas. I'm not using it as Christmas. These pictures are from November of 2007, but I am just using the colors, just using the prints and all that fun stuff. So just I focused on the colors. So we need a background paper. We need, I recommend using a cardstock, but you can still use a tonal paper that gives us a little bit of that separation, where you see I use the cranberry in my sample layout. And I was able to use for this piece right here, this green dotted paper, it was actually the back, it was the reverse side of my frame. So I was able to just cut out an inside frame on my background paper, bring that layer up 1, and use that as my background. I'm not able to do that because I really want this purple paper to be the background, but I don't really care. That's a little too busy for what I've got going on. So I'm not going to use the reverse side of this. I will cut out the frame because I might use that inside piece to make some mats. So I have this piece going. I will make the frame. I will show you how to do that. Then I need a piece that's going to represent where I had the cranberry cardstock. Well, I want to keep this kind of a light and airy layout. I thought maybe I could use the eggplant cardstock, but it felt kind of dark for what I had going on here. So I'm going to just use this colorful, but it's not super contrasty. It's got some pastel on a white background as where I show the cranberry. So then what I'm going to do is I need another layer to come up. I need a layer that's going to be represent where this white with the green polka dots is. So I've got this kind of a pale pink. And I'm just going to bring that forward. You can see how here it's starting to stack, right? I'm starting to see, I can see all those pretty colors of that designer sheet. So that's going to go there. I'm going to go a little bold with my circles. Where you see the circles here, I'm actually going to cut circles out of this pattern and fold those. I thought that would be a nice, just kind of little pizzazz. If I look at my photos, I think my photos can handle that level of detail here, largely because I've got big faces. I don't have a lot of other stuff going on in the photos. There's just the blue swing. We've got sand in the background. So my photos aren't very busy, which means I have maybe an opportunity. If I want to use a little bit of a busier pattern, I could. And so that's what I'm going to try. And if for some reason that doesn't work out right, the opposite side to that is the teal. It's kind of like a aqua-y teal color. So I have a little bit extra of that because I think I'm actually going to cut, well, I'm going to cut probably where I show green mats from the teal color. So we're going to figure this out. I'm going to hope for the best and we'll give it a shot. I'm using up the rest of the sugar plum. I will be more than happy to have it done with. It was not a color that was working for me for Christmas. I pulled out any of the non-Christmassy embellishments from sugar plum. I have those, and then I do have a laser title out of the Vivid Melodies, the blue, the Capri Blue embellishment pack. So got some fun things to do here. All right, so we're going to get started with the background page. Grab my directions. You're going to need to grab your trimmer for this. And if you want to, this is a step where you could use a decorative blade, especially if you do plan to bring this middle remnant, this square that you cut out, if you're going to bring it forward on your layout. If you cut it with a decorative blade, you'll see you'll have that decorative edge there. You can see I use the wavy blade. I don't plan to bring mine forward, so I'm going to just use a regular straight blade. When I cut this piece separate, remember I'm cutting it out of this light pink, I'll use my decorative blade then, because I still want the decorative edge. So we're going to cut a 3/4 inch frame from our 12 by 12 piece of paper. So I'm going to put this in. And if you have the binder clips, if you want to use those, I'll put them in place. I'm going to go ahead, bring my blade over, line up my white edge. Right here's my white line at the 3/4 inch mark. So there's my 3/4 inch mark. Line that up, set my binder clip, bring it over to 11 1/4 inch. I can see it there. And I'll set my binder clip. And then I'll just make my 4 cuts. You don't have to use the binder clips if you're comfortable making these frame cuts. If you're not comfortable, the binder clips can help. So I am just rotating it around. I've lined it up at 3/4 inch, but I messed up on this other one. I did it at 1 inch. I'm so used to doing 1 inch. That's okay because I'm not using that background piece that same way, but make sure you're taking the time to line it up at 3/4 inch. 3/4 inch, 3/4 inch. All right. So I don't have a perfect circle, or excuse me, a perfect square out of my background paper because I was not paying attention. And hopefully you were, and you can maintain that you have that square. Normally I would have flipped this over and brought it forward, putting a piece between the 2 layers to give me that outside edge, but I don't like this background. So I'm going to hold on to this piece. I may be able to use it later for something else, or it's just a nice pretty pale purple. It's pattern neutral, meaning that the pattern isn't overly thematic. It's just a bunch of hexagons. So there's my background. So I really did some of this stuff out of order. As I'm looking at this now, when I was putting this together, I really should have had us where we have step 6. I should have that be step 2. So we're going to go from step 1 down here to step 6. We're going to make that, if you have cardstock you're using, I am going to be using this pattern here. Right? So remember what I'm doing here is I'm going to be making what is represented by the red mat, the red thin border. I'm going to be making that for my page. So I need to trim this 12 by 12 piece down to 10 7/8 inch square. 10 7/8. I am going to use the decorative blade for this because I want that decorative. Actually, no, not for this piece. I'm using my straight blade for this piece. 10 7/8. So just shy of 11. An 1/8 inch shy of 11 is 10 7/8. So there's my 10 7/8 inch square. Now for this piece, I'm going to go ahead and cut a frame. You do not, and then when we cut this frame out, we're going to cut a 1 inch frame. This center piece that we pull out of it, we'll use to make mats. And I am going to use this paper to make mats. I think it'll work really nice. Just have that nice little bit of brightness around the photo with those hints of those different pastel colors. So I'm going to come back. Now I'm going to do a 1 inch frame. If you want to set your binder clips, you can. Another quick trick to do this is from the middle of the blade housing, or excuse me, I show you here on the white to the edge is 1 inch. So what I can do is I can just bring my edge of my cartridge, my blade housing to the edge of my paper. If I stop right when you can see it here, right? If I stop right where my paper stops, that'll be 1 inch. If I stop over here where the cartridge hits my paper, it will also be 1 inch. It's kind of hard to see because of the angles of the camera, but there you go. So yes, thank you. My middle child was all chubby cheeks and grins when they were little. I do miss those years, but I'm thankful that they can drive themselves now to all the activities like they like to be involved in. So, all right, the 1 inch frame. Lined it up at 1 inch on my cutting, the trimmer bed. And I'm going from edge of my cartridge, my blue cartridge housing here, or my blue blade housing, to the edge. And that'll give you a 1 inch frame. That works if you need a 1 inch frame. If you need a different size, you're going to have to use the rulers. All right, so there we go. I'm going to come back to this piece in a few minutes. I'm just kind of building my base page right now. That will get put on there. Sometimes the papers, the reverse sides don't work the way you want them to, and that's why you have to be able to adapt. This page here is the one I need to use my decorative blade on. It's going to layer in here like such. All right, so this is the one I'm going to go ahead and cut with my decorative blade. I'll just use the wavy blade again. The wave blade. And I need to cut this piece to, look at my directions. I need to, it needs to be 10.5 inches wide. I don't give you that measurement because we actually cut it, originally we cut it as part of the inside frame. So you can see here, the space that I cut out of the white and green, this middle section is what I am looking for. And that is, should be 10.5. Yep, is 10.5 inches. So I need this piece here to be a 10.5 inch square. So before I start cutting that, I need to establish the wavy edge. So there's the wave edge on that side. I'll cut this corner with the wave edge. Now I will go ahead, bring my arm out and cut this at 10.5 inches. So I'm cutting this square at 10.5 inches. And that's going to sit like such. So we've got just basically the layered look where we're coming in with those frames and just layering up, building up our background. I'm going to go ahead and attach these pieces together. So on the back side of the front piece, I'll just put some adhesive. I'm using repositionable. You could use regular adhesive. You could use your thin tape or the mini tape runner. And just center that on there as best you can. I'm going to go ahead and use my mini tape runner here to put this piece on. Tessa showed you guys her graduation photos for her son. Mine, I haven't done graduation, the layouts yet. I'm still working my way to that point. I have them printed. I've got a lot of the photos printed. I just need to sit down and do it. It's kind of a dreary day. We had, I don't know, typical Washington, I guess. I was hoping for better weather, but the photos are just kind of, I don't know, they're not the best photos. We didn't have a beautiful day. It was raining before we left the house, so we couldn't really take photos outside. And then afterwards, it was kind of chaotic. We didn't get photos. My son lost the hat when they threw it in the air. He couldn't find it afterwards. So all of the photos afterwards, he doesn't have his cap on. And so he found it later. Somebody found it.
This graduation was 2.5 years ago. You're not that behind yet.
I know, but I should be. I mean, I have the photos printed. It should be. I mean, you got a whole album done already. You're just like, this is like repeat for you.
I actually did that album back in 2020, that fall at a retreat.
Where's Emerson's album? You should make that for her for Christmas.
Emerson's still 13 in her book. I don't know. I do want to work on, I don't know. We'll see what happens next week.
So there's the background paper. So we've kind of gotten ourselves, we've done steps 1, 6, and 7. All right. Now what we're going to do is we're going to swing up. We'll go ahead, and I think we're going to go ahead and let's make our circles first. Let's make those circles. So you're going to need your cutting mat. Trying to find the one that isn't so dirty. I need to clean these. I say that every month and I never do it. Give it to my husband. Let him have fun scrubbing those clean, right? All right. So I'm going to cut 4 circles using circle number 1 and the 4-inch blade, or the blue blade. Circle number 1 and the blue blade. Let's see here. I know that the size of the circles, I can't, if you want to make them a little bit smaller, you can get 3 stacked on each other if you use the red blade. I went with the blue because I wanted a slightly bigger. So I just got to make sure that I put these on here right so I can get all 4 out of this single piece. Yeah, so I'm pretty tight over here. I should be able to get it though. Yeah, I'm real tight at this bottom edge. And we'll need to cut these in half. It's easy to cut these circles in half with the 12-inch trimmer. I'm just going to bring it down, set it in my trimmer bed, and go ahead and make sure it's nestled between these two high edges, I guess, the 2 cliffs on your trimmer bed. And I'm going to go ahead. I do have a little bit of a pattern to this. I've got a little bit of a linear, a line, a direction to this. I'm going to make sure that I'm trying to follow that and keep these, the zigzags going fairly, straight across there. I'm going to switch out to my straight blade. And there we go. They're trimmed in half. So do that to all 4 of your circles. And after we do that, you're going to need your scoring blade, and we're going to score the circles to make the little photo corners. Got my scoring blade. So these circles were, just shy of 4.5. They're 4 3/8. The important thing on this, I just used the circle number 1 with the blue blade. I would not go any bigger than the 4.5. You could use the green or the red if you want a smaller circle. Switching out to my scoring blade, the other thing I'm going to recommend here is double check before you score. Double check how deep of a groove you have in here. If you have a fairly worn groove in your cutting, the trimmer, this gray trimming mat, you might want to flip it over to a fresh spot. If it's too worn down into that groove, when you use a scoring blade and you press down, you could actually cut your paper. So this is a fresh mat for me, so I'm going to be fine, but just double check. You guys don't want to accidentally cut your paper. So when you do this scoring, what I'm going to do is bring the point, this corner of my circle up to the trimming, or to the line, the dash line, using my 45-degree angle. And then I'm going to go ahead, hold it in place and score. I'm going to flip it over and do the same thing on the other side. And then what I'll do is be able to fold along that edge, that scored line. And you'll just repeat that on all of your half circles. I'm going to go ahead and just score them, and then I'll come back and fold them all. If you don't have the scoring blade, what you can do, if you didn't have the scoring blade, and maybe if you have the multi-purpose tool, what you can do is go ahead, come in here, fold your circle in half, give yourself a quick pinch. You're finding the middle. I've established the middle. Now what you can do is you can actually use your ruler. I found that middle. Come here to the, use your multi-purpose tool. Got my middle. I'm going to come out here to my corner, and I can use my multi-purpose tool and score with my ruler. But you got to find the middle first. So just give your paper, fold the circle in half, give it a quick pinch to find that middle. Your multi-purpose tool can work as a ruler or as a scoring tool. So that's, you know, something to consider. You just have to be a little bit careful when scoring, to make sure that you get that, you know, in the middle. I'm a little bit over the middle there, so I'm going to have kind of tight on my, but you can see it does work as an option. Yeah, somebody's giving a suggestion. If you have an old ink pen that doesn't write anymore, you could definitely use that. Just make sure it, you know, of course, doesn't write anymore. Using your, the cutting mat will work as that soft surface underneath. You can also use a piece of cardboard under there, that chipboard that we get with our paper, the cardstock packs. That would be an option to use as a scoring mat as well. I do recommend the scoring blade. If you guys have the personal or the 12-inch trimmer, the scoring blade is a great one to have. I don't use it a ton, but I'm glad when I use it, you know, when I do use it, I'm glad I have it, because I'm usually doing something that I want a nice crisp score line, a fold line. I'm not a great folder. Like if you just leave me on my own to fold paper, it's not always the best. All right. So now I can fold all of these pieces. I would like you guys to know it's pitch black outside right now here in Washington, pitch black. It's cold. I don't know. I don't even think we got to 40 today, which is pretty cold for us. And these kids, I can hear them next door playing basketball. I'm glad they're outside and enjoying themselves. My son may actually be over there too. I don't know. I think I heard him go outside. My husband's in charge of things right now. We'll see if I'm getting dinner after I'm done here. And just folding all those pieces. Okay, so now we've got all of our photo corners ready to go. The last thing we need to do is I need to cut the mats. But now what I can do is just make sure that I like the matte colors, right? Because remember I said I thought I was going to go with, let's see here. I was going to cut these. And then these are going to come on top. Yep, I'm going to like this. All right. So from this teal page, the opposite side is that same zigzag pattern. Coming back to my instructions, this teal color here, I am making step number 2. My 4 4 3/4 inch squares. Using the straight blade. Four 4 3/4 inch squares. I need 4 of them. Four 3/4 inch squares. Right. These are going to layer on like such. Now I need to make the mats for my photos. I mentioned this in step 6, where we save that middle section that we cut out of that frame to make mats. You can see the red mats are in the sample, the red mats. I'm using this piece here to make the mats. So I need to trim these mats are going to be 4 1/4 inch each. So I need to make sure I have 8 1/2 inches. I'm good. I've got more than 8 1/2. So I can cut 4 4 1/4 inch mats from this square. Just a little bit of extra to go around those photos. You don't necessarily have to have the mats to go around the photos if you don't want. Four 1/4 and 4 1/4. So now what I'm going to do is get my photos put on here. I'm going to find all 3 of them. Says here this was from November 30th of 2007. So I'm definitely a little bit behind. I spent a lot of time over Thanksgiving printing photos, just as we were kind of relaxing around, looking through. I back up a lot of photos to Amazon. So I was going through Amazon and printing out all sorts of photos. I printed all of Christmas 2007. I had a lot of pictures from Christmas 2007. All right, so these photos have all been matted. Now these are the pieces that I'm going to go ahead and adhere those mats to. First, I need to do though, is they adhere to these pieces, these larger ones. Let me put my photos on here. My photos essentially are double matted. And I need to figure out, I think this lower corner here is where I'll put, like, if I'm going to have the title. I may not put this piece here. I may just leave it open with that teal, the bluish green color. So now it's a little bit of a decision of how my photos are going to sit on here. And I'm going to leave this one here, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this one up here. So I'm separating. You can see that her face here and here are a little bit further away. So I want to keep those a little bit separated from each other. It feels just a little bit more balanced. And now I'm going to go ahead and put those photo corners on. And they just get put in opposite corners. And I'll use adhesive to get those They're just giving that photo and Matt a little hug. Pretty certain everybody should just start placing bets on whether or not I will go over my time allotment. That's actually, you took quite a bit of time though for yours tonight, for it was punching all those pieces.
It's still only like half hour. Not even.
I know, but I really need you to only take 25 minutes.
I probably did, we just didn't start right away. I'll work on that for January. New Year's resolution, give Meggan more time during power hour.
Yes, because I certainly don't want to have to make any changes to what I do.
They've already told us they don't mind it if we go over. They'll just log off if they're tired and watch the recording later.
That's very, very true. Can I do that too? Can I just log off? We'll call it good.
No.
No, it doesn't work like that, huh?
No. I am being entertained by everyone not scrapbooking who's given us the weather forecast across the country where they are. So far, I'd rather be in Texas because it's in the 70s.
Yeah, so we are, I've been keeping a very close eye on, and oh, there it is. I was like, I lost a half circle already. I've been keeping a close eye. We are headed to Palm Springs for the holidays. And then we're going to jaunt over to Phoenix to spend Christmas Day itself with my family. My brother lives there and my parents winter there, but I've been keeping a very close eye on what we're expecting for weather while we're there. We mostly booked this to chase some sunshine and warmth. Christmas up here can be pretty dreary, very dark. I mean, it's dark everywhere, but it seems really dark. And so I'm hoping for some good weather. My older two kids are going to stay home for the first part, then they'll join us for the second part. My son had a friend who joined the Navy and he's home on leave. And so my oldest didn't want to be gone all of that time because he wants to see his friend, which I understand. He wants to hear all the stories, right? Some of the stories I've already heard are pretty interesting. Gotta love those young people that join the military and the crazy stories they come home with. My husband was in the Marines and he has some interesting stories of his time in the military. So there you guys can see, we have that nice kind of the bloom in the middle with these opposite corners. All of these photos will just get put on here. If I come over, or excuse me, all of the squares, I'll just put centered. And then I have all of these lovely things. And I don't know, it's kind of funny that I'd say today, because obviously it's not today. It's not even reasonably close to today. But I was just looking for things that I had to go with this. I will work on getting, some additional details on here. There's got some, I'm sure these were meant to be kind of like snowflakes and so forth, but there's just some different things that I can cluster in here, maybe a little bit of journaling. I don't have a whole lot to say other than Sarah really enjoyed the swing set at the park. But that's lighting tonight's terrible. But you guys can see there, I will finish filling this, getting this something put here. I might go ahead and just put some letters on there, a quick title and a little bit of journaling. I'll figure it out. I don't think I'm going to sneak that in there. I don't know, maybe I will. We'll see. So, all right, that's what I've got for my my layout today. Let's see if I can push the right buttons. All right, so thanks everybody for joining us. Hopefully you had a chance to work on it and get started. Maybe you made Tessa's and you'll make mine tomorrow, or vice versa, or you're just watching this on YouTube later. So if you want to, please go ahead and share your layouts in the Ideas and Inspiration group. It's our Facebook group where you will see all sorts of layouts being shared after tonight's. I'm sure if you go out there now, there's already layouts being shared. There is a hashtag. You'll see it on your handout. It's December 2022 PH. On my handout, it's listed right there. And share them in there, and then we'll do a drawing. Tessa, what day are we doing that drawing? Can you tell me?
Next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday. So you have until end of day on Tuesday, so a week from today, the 20th, to go ahead and share your layout. Use that hashtag so that we can do it. A little hint is if you post them separate of each other, actually, yeah, post them separate. So post one post with mine with that hashtag, post one post with Tessa's with that hashtag, and that's like 2 entries, right? How fun is that? They do not have to have photos on them. They do not have to be creative memories, papers, products. We just want you using up your supplies, making pages. So if you feel free to share them as close to complete as you're comfortable doing. And just a reminder too, we have Winter Frolic coming up in, oh my gosh, like 3 weeks, 2 weeks. I don't know. It starts January 1st. I don't want to think about how close really the end of the year is.
I'm trying not to think about it because it's gonna.
I know. I'm trying to like ignore that Christmas is like 12 days away and I don't have all my shopping done. But please, we'd love to have you join us for Winter Frolic. We're gonna have 8 new challenge layouts. We're gonna have 8 new throwback layouts. We have a Zoom kickoff crop that's going to be on January 2nd, I believe, which is a Monday. And then we are going to have a page makers class coming up in the first quarter. So we don't have a date yet. I'm trying to pin Tessa down on this, and she's hard. She's got a very, very busy schedule in the first part of the year. So, but we'll get something pinned down and have you guys a date. And part of that is we're waiting to see what Creative Memories is going to come out with. We've seen a little bit of what's coming in January, but we know there's something else coming. We want to know what is it so we can pick the best one to do for page makers. And I think that's about it. We don't have the date yet for January's Power Hour because, again, I'm trying to pin Tessa down for that stuff.
We haven't figured that one out.
I don't think we have. We need to have a discussion about the 2023 calendar.
I'll go find my calendar.
I feel like, when you're trying to book somebody way in advance and you're like, let me get me on your calendar. She's just way busier than I am on some of that stuff. My kids' things
January's
right now.
Basketball season.
Well, it's always something season for you. Campbell plays entirely too many activities.
The truth of that, but at least soccer's on the weekend.
True.
Weeknight heavy.
Yeah. So, all right. But once again, thanks for joining us tonight. We will see you guys next month. Hopefully we'll see many of you on January 2nd for the kickoff crop for Winter Frolic. If you have any questions on anything, please reach out to us. We're more than happy to help. We will also have something kind of exciting coming in the next, hopefully, day or two. Right? Do you think it's going to have it ready to go next day or two?
I think so. You might as well tell them.
Okay. We finally got together and we put a Facebook page just for Meggan and Tessa together. We're not sure 100% how that page is going to work, but what we're excited about is it will be a place that we can specifically dial into what Meggan and Tessa can really share with you guys. So you'll be a spot where we'll have all of our events will come from there. If you belong to our other pages, you'll see those events there, but it'll be a Meggan and Tessa page, and you'll see places where Meggan and Tessa can jump in and answer questions. You can message that page if you have questions on something. So we're really excited to be able to share that and get that up and going. So you may see where we ask you, hey, can you go ahead and like and follow this page? Because it just, give us a little bit of Facebook love there, but we'll have details. That's going to be coming out really, really soon. It's not going to be an additional group. We're going to be sticking with the ideas and inspiration is going to be still where we share all of those layouts and things like that. Patrice is asking about January Power Hour. We don't have a date yet, but Tessa and I we need to figure that out because we always put it in the message that goes out tomorrow. So apparently we are behind the 8 ball. So Tessa, look at your calendar. We'll discuss afterwards.
I take full blame.
Yeah, because I'm going to blame her.
It's my fault.
It's Tessa's fault. It is. So, all right. Thanks, you guys. We will see you soon. Be on the lookout for that email tomorrow with I don't think we have any revisions to the handout, but we will have the date for the January Power Hour, have the link to our new Facebook page, and of course, all that information about Winter Frolic. So, all right. We'll see you all soon. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.